We're at Silverstone. It is the second race of the season in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup. It is pre-qualifying. The track is live. The cars are making their way out onto the circuit. David Addison and John Watson are trackside. It's the end of a long day at Silverstone, but 48 GT3 cars pouring out onto the circuit. I know we say it every time, John, but it's another mega entry, and picking a winner this weekend is virtually impossible.
Absolutely. I mean, we've now got slightly higher ambient, looking at 11.5, slightly higher track temperature, 13.3. Is it going to make any difference? Well, I'm holding my breath, and I mean, I couldn't hold it that long. Everybody over the past 3 days, because there's been 2 days of testing prior to this event, have been struggling to break the 120-second barrier. Last year, they were doing 1 minute 56s. Now, the principal difference is the circuit is a year older. Unlike Fiend Ween, or Bordeaux to those that like red wine, which generally ages and gets better, racetracks in general, as they age, there's a level of slight drop-off, whether it's on grip or in the actual surface itself. Now, lots of drivers are saying, oh, there seem to be more bumps. I don't know whether there are more bumps or not. But what is evident from what we've seen, certainly this morning, is that the track isn't delivering up the kind of times that we saw 1 year ago. And a lot of the front-run teams did run a new set of tyres this morning. Okay. We were standing in the booth saying, well, we don't know if they're on old tyres, new. We don't think anybody's, oh, maybe a Stein Shortnose went and did a 5th quickest time. Definitely that was a new time. But in fact, most of the front-running teams did run a new tyre. Just the lap times compared to 1 year ago are about 3 and a bit seconds off. Might change in this session now. Now the track's had more running, more rubber down, and everybody's focusing on what they've got to do tomorrow morning for qualifying.
So what are we expecting out of this session? Hopefully we can get quicker times, but in theory, people are still working through a programme. They need to get all 3 drivers ideally through this session, because if you have drama in qualifying, at least you can say, yeah, well, we did the pre-qualifying session, so we've ticked that qualifying box. That's why this session is so named. But the other thing we need to look for, I suspect, is better pace out of the Audis, because they were barely at the races this morning.
I mean, I think everybody has been scratching their head and wondering, well, because they were reflecting back on what they had 1 year ago, and the feedback that they're getting from the drivers. And we saw in Stephen Kane during that session earlier today, in an animated conversation with his engineer, explaining, you know, he had a spin down at the entrance or the exit of Vale. Just a combination of ambient track temperature, circuit, you know, whatever the bumps are, they've been there before, but people are saying, well, they seem to be less forgiving than previously, but that would maybe be a function of lower track temperatures, lower ambient temperatures. So everybody is fundamentally wondering, where are we going to find another 3.5 seconds? I don't know if they will find it in qualifying tomorrow morning, because we're going to be going out 9:30-ish. Again, ambient and track temperature will be low. The track will be much better in terms of the amount of rubber that's been put down, but contrast that against the ambient and track temperature.
So the first thing to look for, can anybody get below 2 minutes? Then we're making progress. An absolute best from Stephen Kane means absolutely nothing, because it's the first flying lap of the session, so pretty good. I mean, but it's good that the car's got good pace. Yeah, indeed.
Ironically, in the test that we had on Friday, 2 cars did get into the 159.6s or whatever, then it's almost irrelevant. What counts now are these 2 official sessions, the one that was this morning and the one that's now taking place, just gone live, to get feedback for what we can expect. Now, this is relevant to what the 3-hour event, or to the 3-hour event on Sunday, because we're now running at 20 to 4. The race will be 40 minutes old. So right in the meat and 2 veg of what teams will be looking to as they've been preparing for their first round of 2 pit stops.
Stephen Kane backing out of this lap, trying to buy himself some clear track space. 48 cars, even around Silverstone, it gets very crowded. That is the winning car from Monza, don't forget, the Dynamic Motorsport Porsche. Only Porsche's 3rd win in the history of the Endurance Series, which is a huge surprise to many. And it was a surprise that it was that car that won, because it was a single car team.
Delicious. I mean, how you couldn't find a Ciao Ale. I mean, hi, or whatever you want to say. So, I mean, it is an unexpected winner in Monza, and the series is all the better for it.
Yes, indeed.
That a single entry, what is effectively a private entry, contrasting that to the Rover Racing Porsches, which are very much more quasi-factory Porsche entrants, with some factory drivers behind the wheel. great result for, I think, for everybody, and a great result for that private team in particular.
So Matt Parry has done the gun time, 2 minutes 1.8. That's bettered by Raffaele Marciello, formidable, because he's done a 2 minute 0.105, the flying Italian in the Mercedes, but we're still not below that 2 minute mark, but we're almost there, only a tenth shy now.
Yeah, that's the first flying lap of this session for Marciello. The best time this morning was a 2 minute 0.00009 by Jordan Pepper on his second lap, his effective first flying lap in the Bentley on new rubber, and nobody else managed to eclipse that throughout the remaining 1.5 hours of that session.
So through Village they come, looking at anybody else that might be threatening. Dries Van Voor up to second fastest, Clement Schmidt up to second fastest, but we're still over 2 minutes. Matt Parry then was quickest earlier on, he's fourth. So where do we get anybody looking as though they could be on for a sub 2 minute? Marciello has done another absolute best in the first sector. 88 Mercedes is the one to watch on this lap. If anybody's going to break 2 minutes, he's your man.
I think the word I would use, there's a load of intense. This is getting serious. We're not fooling around trying tricky setups, doing things that we would do in a session which has got little relevance, as he does take a big risk. This is Raffaele Marciello at his best when he is on the edge, on the limit.
And this car suits him. I mean, he was somebody that had a great single-seater pedigree, came into GT racing and took to the Mercedes like that proverbial duck to water. He's a bit down in the middle sector, though, because he's lost 3/10 there. So he's going to be a real hero in the last sector, assuming he doesn't bail for the pit lane. Down he comes into Brooklands, down through the gears, hustles the car in, fighting it, turns it left, burst of acceleration, set it up for this long rise of Luffield. The clock ticking on. Is this the first sub 2 minute lap? If it is, it's going to be marginal. 53, 54, he's up through the gears, coming through Woodcote. It seems to take an age to get the car straightened out, up towards the timing line. He's not going to do it. 2 minutes 0.616. It's slower than the previous lap, but it really ebbed away in that middle sector.
Absolutely. I mean, he was fastest overall in sector 1, the sector that we're now following the 88 Mercedes in. That includes this very high-speed section up at Beckett's. I mean, big commitment. You turn right, then you've got to slow it down to turn left, then slow it down even more for the final part of these three-part Beckett's corner, then flat out straighten the car up as soon as you possibly can to reduce any side slip onto what used to be, and may not be any longer, the fastest part of the Silverstone circuit, depending on the direction the wind is. The wind actually, looking now at the flags above the British Racing Drivers Club directly in front of us, is lying limp.
It is.
Lying limp.
I know the feeling. It's been a long day. So the wind has subsided, and Stephen Kane has just gone second fastest, the Bentley 107. So you've got Mercedes, Bentley, Audi at the moment. Interesting that Audi, I know it's early in the session, but a completely different feel to the session in terms of the brands that are up there. Audi was absolutely nowhere this morning. You've actually forgot they were here.
Well,
but now they're up there.
As I say, this is getting down to the point when it's the last opportunity you have before we have qualifying tomorrow morning, and then go into the race at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, to fine line, to detail what you are going to go into qualifying with. Because if you have a car, well, let's say not responsive, doesn't have good traction or good turn and good traction, then your qualifying on Sunday is going to be a waste of space and compromise then into your grid position for what will be 3 hours of door-handled motor racing here at Silverstone.
If you were with us this morning for free practice, you might remember a very odd end to the session where we had a red flag, and yet everybody went out, and still the red flags were flying. It was, as we suspected, human error. The marshal who controls the green light had turned it to green. The instruction was fast lane is open, meaning cars can drive down the pit lane to queue. The marshal took that to mean pit lane is open, so he put the lights to green, everybody drove out. And therefore then came across red lights and red flags and couldn't go quickly.
Would you say that equates to speeding in the pit lane for a driver, or ignoring a yellow flag and overtake under a yellow flag, or would that be almost like speeding under a red flag? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, look, it happened. Unfortunately, it was of no consequence.
No.
It was at the very end of the session. There wasn't actually, by the time the cars went on track, albeit they shouldn't have been, there wasn't really enough time for anybody to do an outlap and then come across this start-finish line there and go on to a flying lap.
Indeed so, but it was a very odd situation, but that tidies it all up, in case you were wondering. Dries Van Voor has gone third, 563 in the pit lane. That's the Dennis Lin, Marco Mappelli, Andrea Caldarelli car. Caldarelli at the wheel of it.
Yeah, but of those three entrants, the quickest of the three. Mind you, Dennis Lin in that car. We're still talking about Dennis Lin's drive at Monza.
I mean, Dennis Lin, Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion, what, 3 years ago? Last year's Blancpain Asia champion. He's a real star.
Struan Moore in the Jensen Button Rocket Racing RJN. 4th quickest Honda, suddenly poking its nose up. I mean, this morning, just looking at my timing and scoring, they were somewhere in the 30s. There they are, currently 4th quickest.
That's good.
Great.
It's one. Riding with Alex Bunker, incidentally, in the Bentley. A bit dark, seemingly, but he comes up through Beckett's, and this is the view onto Hanger Straight, John.
Yes, indeed. So Barn Hanger Straight, depending on the way the wind's blowing. Previously, it was actually blowing into the face of the drivers coming down Hanger Straight, but the wind does appear to have just suddenly just evaporated, or whatever wind does. Alex Bunker enjoying his second outing in the Bentley M Sport team. Asked what is the difference? So there are certain differences clearly between the Nissan GTR and the Bentley, the M Sport Prepared and GT3 Continental. Didn't go into detail quite rightly with me because, you know, those are secrets you want to keep. And I mean, it's suddenly slightly bigger team and scale to compare to his days at Nissan. Whether that's better or worse, is it just, you know, he's happy to be racing, delighted to be in a competitive car, a car that is more than capable of winning here at Silverstone. So having spoken to Stephen Kane, he said the car is, because he mentioned the curbs, we mentioned the curbs, car apparently with the setup that it has this year is slightly different in its forgivingness of curbs than in previous years.
I suspect Alex won't tell you until he's no longer a Bentley driver, but
he's going to have to wait a long time.
Exactly, but it will be interesting to know what the feel is, because Bob Neville's squad was always a very family,
very much
felt team. M Sport, we've talked about this in the past, Malcolm Wilson takes no prisoners. He can be very ruthless. If he thinks as a driver you're not performing, whether it's race or rally, you're out the door. And it must be a different field there for Alex, coming from one to the other.
Yes, it is. And I mean, that was what I was sort of alluding to without quite being the biggest pull up about it. But, you know, that is the fundamental difference. The thing is, Nissan won many races running with Bob Neville and doing a great job. And Bentley have won races as well. So it's how you cut your cloth. Different people do it differently. And currently the Bentley is very much, I would say, the cutting edge of how a team is run. Dries van Voor, currently 4th. Nicky Thiem has just suddenly popped up into 2nd place on the Aston Martin, but still nobody has managed to break that 122nd lap barrier. Nicky Thiem in the R Motorsport Aston Martin, 2 minutes 00136. 31 thousandths of a second away from Raffaele Marcelli, who set that lap on his first flying lap, whereas Nicky Thiem has set his lap on his 5th lap.
I've just had an email from the organisers confirming a new entry list which will really take effect tomorrow. If you were, again, watching in the first session, you might remember number 9, Philippe Steveny, had a spin early on and brought out a red flag. He is going to be replaced tomorrow by Philippe Eng, who's part of the BMW factory DTM effort, and he won't be here until tomorrow because he won't do the free practice session, so he'll rock up tomorrow morning, sign on, they'll check all his equipment, and then he'll go out and qualify.
And that car will now be a Silver Cup car.
Pro-Am.
Pro-Am car.
Pro-Am car, yeah. So
Pro-Am
category, yes. But it's interesting, isn't it, how even you're into the event, the entry list is still evolving.
Well, it's lucky he had the Barbie out and he wasn't getting the old loin of beef all marinated to put on the Barbie with a few nice bottles of claret. That's all gone by the by. Yeah. He's a racing driver. He'll be delighted to be here, and he will bring a massive amount of vitality to that number 9 BMW, along with Marc Rustin and Karim Auger. So maybe Philippe Eng can actually lift his 2 teammates.
It's going to be interesting to watch, isn't it? Now, we are at the, 15-minute mark, and we have still not yet got anybody who is doing a time that is below 2 minutes. We had that initial flurry, and still the best is a 2 minute 0.105. This car's been repaired since this morning. Raymond Vos crashed it. Tom Onslow-Coles at the wheel of it, the Ram Racing Mercedes. And he's up to 4th fastest. Tom Onslow-Cole, who a few weeks ago, over the Easter weekend, was racing a 1-litre motorbike engine buggy in RX 150 Rallycross at Lynn. And now here he is in a Pucker GT3 car around Silverstone.
Well, no change there then, is there? But just on that subject of Pro-Am and Am.
Yes.
Second quickest time this morning was actually by a Pro-Am car. Andrea Bertolini in the 52 Ferrari, followed by the 97 Aston Martin, Charlie Eastwood. First silver car was the idea of the Schornhorst brothers and Matteo Drey. So we're seeing, as we saw at Brands Hatch and at Monza, the Pro-Am category, and in some cases it's the silver category as it was at Brands Hatch, with the pro driver, or the high-graded driver, certainly silver in the case of the Silver Cup cars, capable of mixing and matching it with the full, what you might describe as pro driver lineups.
Very true indeed. Now we've just got Tom Onslow-Cole up to third, as you see on the graphic, so very good lap for the Mercedes, showing no after effects from its off early on. Raffaele Marciello has just pitted on another of those laps where he did an absolute best in the first sector. Nicky Thiem up to second, and Thiem is on another quick lap, so you're looking at the car that's third. Can TOC get below 2 minutes? He's almost there, he's 7/10 away, but a lot more people in the early part of this session being warned about track limit abuse, incidentally, as well.
The other thing that's notable currently, and we're only 20 minutes or so into the session, is that we had 24 cars covered by just under a second after the session this morning. Now we've only got 5 cars covered by a second. So all of a sudden there's a polarization at the very top, while others are maybe working their way up. But the serious players have all got in, nailed it, established a time, and then hopefully can move forward. And let's hope we're going to get somebody who does break through into the 1 minute 59, or even, dare I say it, a 58.
This is a problem for 108. It's been taken into the garage, and there seems to be a lot of attention around the back of the car. Not sure all is well there. This doesn't look part of a plan, does it?
No, they're going to get it up, get the wheels off. Now, whether this is, you know, I'm thinking about suspension changes. There have been issues, brakes, somebody maybe not being happy with the brake, not necessarily just on Bentleys, but just, you know, through the field. But this looks like it's more of a mechanical change to the rear of the Bentley. Whether they're going to make a roll bar change or something of that nature, I don't know. I'm just trying to second guess it. We need to get our intrepid pit lane reporter to dive in there and make a splash.
This car's making
Give us an answer.
This car's making a splash, isn't it? 22 Struan Moore, the Honda, 6th quickest. I still have to really work hard to say Bob Neville and Honda, not the other Japanese concern that he was with for eons. But Struan Moore, great driver and reveling in this car.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a car which I think is a compatible car with the driver lineup. It's not an edgy, on the front, nose turn, back step out kind of race car. It's a well-balanced, user-friendly car, and that's what Struan Moore is doing. He was actually at 1.4 quickest. He's dropped back a little bit with other drivers now, having gone fractionally quicker.
The car in the Brawn colour scheme to reflect Jenson Button's World Championship success. Down towards Copse Corner, he brakes, down to 4th, turn in.
Whoa.
Not happy there.
No. And I wonder if I was taking, I mean, if I was driving the car, I would have taken 5th, just down to 5th gear, bit of brake, lean on the outside rear corner, get on the gas, turn the wheel, job done, easy peasy.
Through Beckett's, great part of the circuit that, no matter what you watch through Beckett's, it's impressive. Chapel Curve is here, and then onto the Hanger Straight now. So
up to about 250 plus kilometers per hour as you come down into Stowe Corner, a much revised Stowe Corner over many, many years. Just having to wait before you can nail the throttle. Just looking further down, Maro Engel in the number 4 black Volta Mercedes just gone fastest overall sector 2 and a personal best in sector 1. So expect that number 4 Mercedes to pop up. Will it be the first to pop into the 159s?
Let's see. Nicky Thiem has pitted. He's bailed. Franck Pereira's up to 3rd. But Maro Engel an absolute best, a personal best. You're looking still at Struan Moore, whose lap is not looking great. Maro Engel a 59.977. Maro Engel is the first driver to get below 2 minutes. Finally, and it's a Mercedes 1-2 at the moment, so the grunt and go Mercedes AMG GT3s are 1 and 2. Engel, and it's now 88 with Michael Meadows at the wheel that's second. Interestingly, Black Falcon ahead of Acura ASP, but there it is, the quickest car of the day.
And you know, I've been watching the number 4 Black Volta Mercedes all last year, this year. They've got a stellar driver lineup across, whether it's in sprint or whether it's in endurance. Jelmer Berman is on board, just having to be patient because Chris Froggatt in the Ferrari. I don't think that would have been. Not sure who's. Anyway, Maro Engel, having now broken the 2-minute barrier, didn't need to push terribly hard if he wasn't quite sure what the Ferrari was about to do.
It's Chris Buncombe, brother of Alex.
It's Chris, I know.
Former Le Mans class winner, but good to have him back racing full time now. Disappeared for a few years, came back as Alex's bagman almost, and because his grading had dropped, suddenly found himself in demand. Quite right too.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the upsides is if you're graded silver and you're a bit of a hot shoe, which was what Chris Buncombe is. Pretty useful driver, as well as being the brother of Alex, you are in demand. Because the way that the structure of the individual classes have been formed, people like Chris Buncombe are what might be called an endangered species. Not many of them around. Teams are grabbing them and putting them in their cars.
Spots of rain on the camera lens there. We had a report of a little bit of rain in the previous track activity, which was the Lamborghini Super Trofeo race. Michael Meadows only doing endurance this year. This is the car that he shares with Raffaele Marciello and Vincent Abril. So again, it's a great driver lineup.
Yes, I mean, Vincent Abril coming across from Bentley. The strength of that car fundamentally is going to be Raffaele Marciello. But as long as he is complemented by Michael Meadows and Vincent Abril, that is still a force to be reckoned with. And a car, again, as we talked about the number 4 Black Vulcan Mercedes, that has got all the potential in the world to walk away victors on Sunday.
So there it is, 88 into Club Corner, Michael Meadows. Race, of course, in single-seaters, Formula BMW, Formula 3, then he went into GT racing, double Carrera Cup GB champion, and the team ACA ASP that operates that car in the pit garage.
All looks very tranquil, doesn't it? There's no stress, there's no sudden panic, everything looks to be in control. So Michael Meadows threading his way through some of the other cars, one of the Audis and the Lamborghini, so that's the number 2. Audi steps aside to let Michael Meadows go through cleanly. Now he's got one of the, I'm not sure that's the Grasso Racing Lamborghini just directly ahead, or whether that's one of the Orange 1 FFF Racing team cars. I think that I can't really tell, it's too far away. So Michael Meadows comes up to the conclusion of a lap which isn't going to be a record lap, but then he's just looking for track space. So starts his lap at the point where he concludes the current lap he's on. Gets a good clean run out of Luffield, gets a good run through Woodcote. No side slip on the car. Watch what happens coming up into Copse. Listen, listen, listen. Yeah, pretty nice, not being overly greedy on the exit, not doing anything to attract the attention of the race director for track limit abuses. Down a gear. Interesting, it stays way, way off what might be the line, coming into that middle part of Beckett's as we see the 4 Black Vulcan car come in, having now set the new benchmark. Oh, Davide Rigon! Oh. Davide Rigon's a quarter of a second quicker now than Maro Engel.
A 59.714. So Davide Rigon by 0.263 of a second goes quicker as Jean-Luc Bobelic affects the driver change. Gets out of the car. That's a Pro-Am Mercedes. Right, so now it's game on, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, 2 cars have broken the 122nd lap time, and once you get people breaking through that sort of glass ceiling, if you like, of a lap time, then you would expect that others are going to push that little bit harder because they need to now know that it is possible. Whatever the excuses or the reasons over this morning's session that they weren't able to do it, 2 have now done it, and you better get on with the program and make sure you get your car right up behind those 2 quick cars.
62 in the pit box as well, with a clutch problem, we understand. Matt Parry's car, so clutch being sorted out on the R Motorsport Aston Martin.
Yeah, difficult task because this is a mid-front engine car, so access to the clutch. I'm assuming that the transmission, the gearbox, is like a transaxle on the Aston Martin. I'm not sure, I haven't seen the underside of it. If it is attached to the engine via the bell housing, then that's a slightly more tricky operation because you might have to slip the gearbox back to get access to the clutch. Whereas if it is a transaxle, you just basically drop the drive shaft and you can get access to the clutch more quickly.
So there, David Rigon won't improve on this lap because he's well and truly stuck in the traffic. The cars come now out of club, and it's the Attempto Audi that will be negotiated first, one of the two from Arkin Arca's team. But David Rigon in the red, white and blue SMP Racing, in other words Russian colours, comes up now into the right-hander of Village, trying to buy himself clear track space. I know I say it every session, but this car is well overdue a win. It could come here.
Well, look at the unpredictability we saw at Monza. Anything is possible. And the weather at Monza clearly had a major bearing because of the way track conditions evolved. Not anticipating wet conditions here on Sunday at Silverstone, but they might be cool and maybe windy, but hopefully not wet.
So David Rigon through the traffic. We've just had Romain Dumas improve. He's up to 12th fastest in the Rover Porsche, and Rigon bails for the pit lane. So he's had a lap of traffic, nothing to be gained. Maybe hand the car over to Mikhail Alyoshin next. Another improvement, Philip Frommenweiler has taken over the Honda now, 11th quickest. And number 9 BMW is the one that's slowest. Mark Rostan doing the bulk of the driving at the moment.
Yes, well, when Felipe gets into the car he knows, well, not this particular car, but the brand of which he knows extremely well. And I would expect it to suddenly elevate its way up, possibly into the top 20.
Dillane Venturini in 5.19. This car's 5th quickest. So Venturini for the FFF Racing team, sharing it with Frank Pereira and Phil Keen. Where are the Grasser Lamborghinis in contrast? You've got to go quite a long way down to 21st to find Bortolotti, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, they've done a 2:01, 9 laps running. On this lap, Bortolotti is personal best, so maybe we'll see a step forward for the 63 Lamborghini. Ordinarily, that's a car, when it comes down to qualifying, usually in most other sessions as well, to be in the very front of the grid. But at this point, they are substantially out of the order, 21st. As we go back to the 5.19, and this is Phil Keen, Venturini and Frank Pereira, who's probably driven, I mean, he should be a used car dealer because he's driven about every single brand that's represented here at Silverstone. He must have more secrets that he can carry with him. Porsche, Audi, Lamborghini, what else has he driven for?
Mercedes, didn't he have the Mercedes team?
He did some of the Mercedes.
Maxi Boot, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Frank's deal of the week. What do you recommend, Frank? Yeah. Right, another driver change goes on at Acker. Is that Michael Meadows giving way now? Yes, to Vincent Abril.
Yep, Vincent Abril. So 88 is waiting to be released. Have to make sure there's nobody coming down the pit lane as we go back to the 98. So this car, where are we? Romain Dumas in 12th position. Whatever happened? Bortolini went quickest, by the way. Just while we were blethering away, he's just dropped in the fastest time, fastest overall in Sector 1, personal best, Sectors 1-3, Sector 2, overall quickest.
Fascinating blather, I thought. So yes, he's quickest by 74 thousandths of a second. The sister car, which is the Pro-Am car, is quite a long way back, isn't it, 41st. Dumas backs out of his lap. The other Rover car is only 31st, Dirk Werner having improved last time, but gradually we are starting to see the pace improve. So it's Lamborghini, Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Mercedes, Ferrari, Bentley, Lamborghini, your top 10.
Have to say, I put that down to fundamental track changes. Since everybody was out this morning, then we've had Renault's out, we've had the Lamborghini Super Trofeo out. There's just, the track is coming back to life. It's been in hibernation, the Grand Prix circuit I'm talking about, in effect since the back end of last year. So it's slowly being kick-started.
You've had a race for Citroën C1, it's the 24-hour race, but it's a very different type of rubber being put down, a very different field. So Mirko Bortolotti then is the fastest by 74 1/1000ths. Who is, if anybody now, going to get close enough to challenge that? Where do we look for the next gun time to come from?
It's more than likely going to have to come from someone who has yet to establish a time. Those at the front have, by and large, if they've gone on a new set of tyres or used that new set of tyres they used from the session this morning, they will then be running that tyre for the duration. So I would just look down and see who hasn't done a time. I mean, Felipe Fraga has done a time, he's done, how many laps? He's done 10 laps. Now, I would have thought that number 90 Mercedes with Fraga behind the wheel is somebody who's got raw. He reminds me of Froilán Gonzalez,
Right.
who was Argentinian. The Pampas Bull, they called him. One hair, and he destroyed the Works Alfa Romeo team in the early 50s once and forever, because Ferrari had a 4.5 litre on supercharged V12, and it just trashed the 1.5 litre straight 8 two-stage supercharged Alfa Romeos Tipo 158, 159, simply because more fuel efficient. A little bit of Silverstone history.
Indeed so. In a significant Formula 1 year for Silverstone. Clement Schmidt up to 6th, looking at the pit stop for 63. So this is the quickest car in the session. Bortolotti clambers out. Rolf Eichen, I suspect, will do the next stint. We'll see. Oh no, sorry, it's an orange 1 stop. So 5.63 it must be, which therefore means that Caldarelli will be replaced in the car.
Is this Dennis the Menace Lynn getting in, or Caldarelli getting out?
I think it's Dennis Lynn getting in, isn't it, with the green helmet? No, Dennis was just mind-blowing.
Oh, I mean,
in Italy.
I mean, it captured my excitement. I just thought, what a fantastic stint.
Yes.
I mean, in really, really challenging conditions.
I know it is 63, so I'm even more bemused now.
So is that fresh rubber going on, or is just an adjustment on the rear? Again, to get access to some of the suspension components, it's just simply take a reel off and dive in.
Right, so 63 it is, apologies. They both got orange 1 backing, even though one of them is an orange 1 official team, just to confuse life. And I think it's Rolf Eichen that we put into the car.
That looks to me like they're maybe trying to make a ride height adjustment, because there's something being done. So, I don't know. Again, it would be good to hear from the pit lane about these adjustments that are being made to now the quickest car overall. Clement Schmidt, by the way, just jumps up into 6th quickest, and his Audi up to 2 minutes 00202.
So Bortolotti the fastest from Aloshin. Clement Schmidt's just improved to 6th. David Perel is 9th. Now, a word about David Perel, because he was blotting his copybook a bit at Brands Hatch a week ago.
Explain, David.
He went up the inside of Fred Verviche to make a move. It didn't really come to pass. It ended up with Fred Verviche being turned around. He spun in the pack. 3 or 4 cars were involved. Significant damage to Andrea Bertolini's Ferrari. David Perel was given a penalty for his part in the incident.
Bang to rights.
There you go. However, he's doing a pretty decent job here to be 9th fastest. Now, what have we got in replay here? Going very wide is that 17. So Shea Davis, Paul Petit, Alex McDowell's WRT Audi. Shea Davis, the Australian, almost became a waltzing Matilda there, but he got it in the straight line and carries on.
Yeah, and great credit to Audi. They build a strong car at Ingolstadt that you can, if you don't do it out of choice, but if you do end up going off track, that all the bodywork, particularly around the front, the splitter, all the panels that are very vulnerable, it just applies. It's like a snowplow. It's like an icebreaker, really, except it's a grass breaker.
Rolf Eichen it is in 63, so finally unravelled it all. He's in number 63. Teams watch on. There's the Shea Davis Audi looking rather slow now. I think he might well be heading for the pit lane after that moment.
He may have got a nose full of grass, maybe a bit of earth. And I mean, these cars run in a relatively narrow temperature zone. I mean, the water temperature is very high because you run the smallest radiators you can get away with. But if anything gets in to block the core of the radiator, then the temperatures will go off the radiator, not off the radar, not off the radiator.
The Shea Davis Audi is absolutely crawling through Luffield, and I think he's trying to find himself some clear track space because he's just speeded up. You're looking at 99 in the pit lane, which Dirk Werner brought in, but 17 Audi has picked up pace again. 98 comes in now.
Well, I mean, if there is an issue with temperature, it'll be the sensors will send out a clear signal in the cockpit to the driver, but maybe I was being pessimistic that he got away with it as well. And Andrea Bertolini's been getting away with it too. He's up into 10th position, 2nd quickest in that category behind the 74 Mercedes.
Romain Dumas from 98, 15th fastest. Again, you keep looking at keeps looking at these Rover Porsches, expecting them to be bang up at the pointy end. and they're not. I know it's a new car to Rover, but these are all factory Porsche drivers. They don't want for much.
The race is on Sunday.
It is.
It is part of the sort of the philosophy, I would say. They know that their car, in sheer single lap, dry conditions, perfect tire temperatures, whatever, may not be the quickest car in the field. But they know also, to win a race, you've got to be the first person to take the checkered flag, and that will be what their objective is. And how they reach that objective is somewhat irrelevant, but that's their objective. Being quickest or in pole position is an accolade, no doubt everybody loves, doesn't guarantee that you're going to take victory on Sunday.
Right, hold on to your hats, everybody. Dennis the Menace has been unleashed. You're on board with Dennis Lind for a lap of Silverstone.
Listen. What gear is he in? I can't see on the radar. What gear is he? Fourth gear, I think. Runs way, way wide on the exit of Copse. Got traffic coming in on his right-hand side. Stopped him blending over to the right. Whoa.
Dennis.
Snatching gears. He's going to take second. He got touch of the brake. Being careful putting the power on. He's not slamming the throttle. Look, he's having to feed it in progressively. Now into fifth gear, then sixth gear before he gets down to the end of Hanger Straight. 250-ish, I would imagine. Oh, there's 255. Just under 160 miles an hour. Coming in, and then a fairly major stab at the brakes. Let the car float all the way out to the left from the little bit of curbing on the outside. But here, slow it down, get it neat and tidy. Don't overrun as he's done there. Compromises his entry into club. This is a two-part corner, and this is this part, the second part of club. You need to be careful, but equally on the outside, not to overrun. Don't get all four wheels over that red and white demarcation line. Feathering the throttle, he's not really, he didn't brake for it. He just came off the throttle, just letting it breathe, trying to carry the maximum speed. Now all the way down.
Touch of correction
so these two corners, they're kind of frustrating because they're not corners you can really do an awful lot with. So it's about being neat and tidy and being economical with the time rather than being extravagant with it. Ooh, a little bit of nervousness in the tail of the 63 Lamborghini. So into this final two-part Luffield corner, and you've loads and loads of choices of lines. And the point is get it lined up and straight to get through. We've got lots of curb on the inside, but pretty good exit for Dennis Lind.
So 5.63, Dennis Lind at the wheel of it, 20th fastest. Getting a report of a spin for number 10, the Rick Brokers Charles Wirtz Ricardo Sanchez Audi, which is Rick Brokers at the wheel of it. He made his name in Lamborghini One-Make Racing. There, Dennis Lind comes out of the Beckett's S's on to Hanger Straight.
And you can see, I mean, it's not just the Lamborghini. It's like a slight corrugation on the exit of that Beckett's complex, which is causing a lot of trouble for a lot of drivers.
Number 6 with the huge experience, dare I say veteran, Hubert Haupt at the wheel. One of the garage 59 Aston's running a little bit wide. And the number 6 Mercedes you just saw, 18th fastest, Hubert Haupt. Black Falcon operating that car as well. 66 Audi is Clement Schmidt, and this is currently 6th. Interesting, isn't it, that Attempto, currently the best Audi squad. It's their car that's heading the Audi fleet.
I think there's a lot of a level playing field across all four Audi entrants. I mean, previously it was always WRT were the class of the field, but Phoenix, Santalok, now Attempto, all proving what a good product the Audi is, that they all can run pretty much at the similar kind of pace. Comes again just down to the individual preferences as to whether you want a car that is nervy and uncomfortable but quick, or one that's slightly more compliant, maybe not ultimately as quick but doesn't give you the frights.
So there, into Copse corner, goes 66, Clement Schmidt at the wheel. Wide at Copse as well, over the curb he goes on the outside line. 50 minutes of the session to go, we're approaching the halfway point. And it is still very Italian at the pointy end now, Lamborghini ahead of Ferrari. 48 cars we have, they've all been outdone at time.
Just looking at the 66 coming through there, to me, the way that car is working, it's working very well on its rear wheel. You can really lean on that left rear coming through the Beckett's complex, and the car is sitting there. It's giving you confidence. Now, that's personally the way I like racing cars to behave. And if you give that to a driver, you will give that driver confidence.
Out of Cops goes Mikhail Alyoshin, who's now at the wheel of 72, the SMP Racing Ferrari. Getting in perilously close to disaster at the Beckett's S. He saved that, but only just.
Yeah, he was a bit hard coming into the middle part of the Beckett's three-corner sequence, and he would have maybe been advised to just come out of the throttle a millisecond earlier, just to allow the car to get stable before you make that major transition from coming out of a quick right-hander into suddenly a much slower left-hander.
So through goes Alyoshin, finds the dirt on the road.
Yeah, a little bit wide in the middle part of Stowe, not necessarily the correct way around Stowe, but...
Well, he's 7/10 down in the first sector. It's not going to be a sparkling lap, is it? Again, he's nervous. The car has to be fought through club.
I mean, I keep talking about what I like in a race car and how when I see a race car on track, what I think it's giving the driver. But remember, two drivers in the same car, one could be an absolute artist in the car, and the other can be an animal. And you end up with two entirely different feedbacks from each of the drivers.
It's very true. There you have the Rover Porsche of Dirk Werner. It's up to 13th, letting the traffic go, getting clear track space. Australian Matt Campbell, shot at Bathurst, of course, and Dennis Olsen, winner here in Porsche Super Cup last year, sharing that car with him. So Rolf Ineichen is in the car that's currently the quickest. And here comes the 99 Porsche, Dirk Werner. They're not this lap, I don't think, so I'm pretty sure
I think he's done his lap. I think he's now setting out to try, a little bit twitchy and nervy on the entry into Cops. You can see the nose not being at the back of the car, just moving around before he's able to get to the apex. So slightly losing time to watch up through Beckett's as the car composed. Even in the space of doing a relatively gentle lap, you can lose fractions of degrees of tire temperature, not so much the pressure, but more the tire temperature. So when you lean on it, give that big input, it might not be quite prepared on the first real corner on this particular lap.
Sir Morris just put the Team Parker Racing Bentley up to 16th. Lewis Williamson has put the Strachan Mercedes up to 25th. So there's a bit of shuffling going on in the times. And Dirk Werner, as he comes down to the end of Vale, was down again in the first sector. So still not convinced this lap's going to really set the world on fire, especially as he goes wide at club. Yeah, I mean, that's he's made it one big curve, but it was quite a wide sweep out to achieve it. And I think the lap was compromised basically on the entry into Cops. So whatever follows thereafter for the remaining 3 point whatever miles the Grand Prix circuit is these days, it's not going to probably equal his previous best. And Phil Keane is currently installed in 519, which is 7th fastest. See how busy the pit lane's been. Look right, see a whole queue of cars coming down the pit road. But Phil Keane goes through that lap whilst 2 minutes 2.3 and a 2 minute 0 is the best. So look at a time lost there against Frank Pereira earlier on. So we're almost at the halfway point of pre-qualifying.
So we've got three driver car pairings: Lamborghini, Ferrari, Mercedes. Vincent Abril in the 88, and then Mercedes, that was the time said earlier by Raffaele Marcello. So three cars under the 1 minute, or sorry, under the 122nd time. And then we're going back, we've got 9 cars now covered by that 1 second. We had 24 this morning.
I'm looking to see where the next significant car is that perhaps ought to be higher up. Number 2 is Ezequiel Perez Compact in the Audi he shares with Alex Riveros and Dries Van Poel. We've never had an Audi win, incidentally, at Silverstone in the endurance Blancpain races, but Compact has been given a driving standards flag for the dreaded track limits.
I mean, the next car, I would imagine, that ought to put its nose into the top 6 would be the 563 Lamborghini Andrea Caldarelli behind the wheel. Currently, that car is 23rd. And I'm sure, I mean, the 55 Audi of the short horse, that's capable of getting up there as well. And I mean, well, go on to page 2. Is there anybody in page 2? Oh, number 108, Alex Buncombe in the pit lane. That car still being worked on in the pit lane. That's a car that no problem should be up in those top 20, if not the top 10.
Now, what's all this? This is a rotating Tom Onslow, Cole, Ramon Vos, Mercedes. I thought I heard a squeal of tyres in the background when it was Ramon Vos that had a big slide. He caught it, didn't actually rotate, but getting himself going again.
Yeah, and he's going to come back. You know, again, the tyres flat spotted. I would assume whether he thinks he's capable of starting another lap, but he thinks he's got it.
For him, it's about mileage. Keep him out, keep driving around. Tom Onslow Cole's here to do the heroics. You're just meant to be getting quicker and quicker, aren't you? That's the game plan for the quick and Ramon Vos.
I'm not persuaded that the 74 Mercedes hasn't got threepenny bits for its tyres, but we'll wait and see. Ramon Vos decided to continue on, go back to the scene of the Formula 1 grid start-finish line.
Now, Compact here is on his last warning for track limits, so he needs to keep off the curb, or at least keep the right side of them, because he's not winning any friends in race control.
Well, skating on very thin ice. Wonder where it is that he is abusing these track limits.
Turn 7, we're being told, which is
Turn 7?
Yeah.
Well, that's unusual. I mean, you don't often see abuse of track limits at turn 7 that often. There's no benefit from doing it all. If you get it wrong on the entry, then you find yourself being forced out to the outside of the corner.
Compact defecting from Lamborghini to Audi for this year. You could argue finding it a little bit of a struggle, because although the cars you could think were similar, it's not yet gelled in the same way that he had with the Grasser Lamborghini team. There's the Patrick Assenheimer Mercedes, then behind is 17, which was Shea Davis, and there's now Paul Petit. And Compact is wide at Cox, and he got stuck behind his teammate here. Don't forget, 17 didn't even start the race at Monza with damage in the qualifying session.
Red mist. Honda leading the three of them through the sequence of corners at Beckett, so Ezekiel Perez. Compact needs to, in my view, just maybe, assuming he's not got other cars close behind him, just drop back a little bit, because now when you're the third of a three-car line of cars, any prospect of improving of any consequences is not going to happen. There's the 19 Lamborghini. Down the hill into Vale, run the curb at the inside. The curb there is an aggressive curb. Around the rest of the circuit, the curbing, especially on the outside of these corners at Silverstone, are what I call MotoGP friendly. That one in the inside of Vale is one of the very few that is, you know, a bigger deterrent than those on the exit of most of the corners. There's 108 still in the Bentley garage, and are there any engineers diving? There are, yes, still working at the rear suspension, or is it the differential, or is it the clutch, or well, there's more legs poking out from underneath the car.
It's clearly a problem. It's
a big problem. That's a major problem
now.
I mean, when you get the old shipyard screwdriver and start banging at the back of the car, I'm talking about a hammer. Clearly, there is something that they are struggling with.
So 108 losing all of this track time. Better it happens now than in qualifying, but they'd rather it wasn't happening at all. So Engelhardt is now in the 63 Lamborghini, and 108 is there. And Jelmer Berman is in the wheel of number 4, so lots of shuffles of drivers currently cycling through. Stuart Hall's taken over the Gulf Racing Porsche that Ben Goethe has spent most of the day behind the wheel. I don't think Jordan Grover has yet driven that car. And Mark Rostan has just improved his time. He's now no longer last. He's up to 47th. It means that Steve Parrow, the pseudonym German driver, goes to the foot of the times.
The gap between fastest and slowest is a tad under 6 seconds. And in fact, between 47th and fastest, 5 seconds. So the front of the field, highly competitive. The middle of the field, what it is, but the back of the field, they've got their own little battle going on.
Yeah. So there's 107. That's the, at the moment, healthy Bentley. Stephen Kane at the wheel of it, 11th fastest.
Is it getting grey around parts of the circuit, or is it just the picture on our screen?
I think it's our picture, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's getting brighter over here.
Over the start finish line,
Yeah.
just camera picks up incoming weather, so back on to Hanger Straight. 107 makes its way down. This is the car Stephen Kane had that moment down at the exit of Vale. That was in the morning sessions, rotated the car. He then gave a very animated description. He picked up a lot of it on the camera, microphone. Just here, the car went round and you see just clipping the curb like that, set the car off, and it just simply went from being facing the right way to rotating 180 degrees.
We had that flurry of times early on. Now the session has calmed down again. Chris Froggett's just improved to go up to 34th in the Ferrari out of Pro-Am. But things have calmed down a bit now. You've had the guns out to do the times. Now the co-drivers cycle through. So we might get another flurry at the end in anticipation of qualifying. Only
if somebody's prepared or a team's prepared to put on or sacrifice a set of rubber. But bearing in mind that the grid time is based on all three drivers tomorrow, so you want to give all your drivers the best opportunity and not necessarily use a set of tyres towards the end of the session, which will have no ultimate bearing, other than it does give one or three of the drivers a chance to feel what the differences are between a tyre that's done maybe, well, some cars have done already, what, 23 or more laps. So by the time the session finishes, we've got 37 minutes. If everybody stays on one set of tyres, they will have done more than one race distance stint, or one stint distance.
Dennis Dupont's an improver in number 12, which is the Umbro Racing Lamborghini that he shares with Dean Stoneman, Brit, and Stefano Gattuso, and that car's up to 33rd. And the Rover Porsche comes through the BeckettsS's. Rover Racing is the team run by Hans-Peter Naundorf. And a bit of a moment, possibly there, about to emerge from the Honda. Matt McMurray in the wheel of it. I thought he was getting all crossed up as he went through the BeckettsS's, but he got away with that. And onto the Hanger Straight he comes now.
So that car currently 16th quickest. That's the Honda we're looking at. In the colours of the 2009 World Championship that Jenson Button won with Braun Grand Prix. And we mentioned it before, the rocket in the team name refers to Jenson's dad's Rallycross entry name.
And also karting team.
Karting team as well.
That ran Jenson and many, many others with great success, yes. So the name carries on as a tribute to John Button. Matt McMurray then into Stowe. Into Abbey. And this is Village.
Lusty V6.
I think it's a good noise, isn't it?
Oh, it's a lusty V6. Ooh. How many other V6 engined cars are in the race? None.
Exactly.
So there are some 180-degree V6s, which we would call a flat six.
Yeah.
But there aren't many other V6s. Used to be the Nissan was a V6.
All part of the appeal of GT3 racing, the different shapes and sizes and sounds that these cars make.
Now that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That cloud is just, well, the wind is actually not blowing in the direction the cloud looks to be coming from, but those are substantial clouds. And look at that there. One of those little babies deposits its liquid on the track. That'll catch people's attention. But I think it's probably high enough.
Red flag, sorry.
Yeah, okay, you got it. So track is now under a 50 km/h. Come back to the pit lane immediately.
Maxime Martin had just gone 11th, but the reason for the stoppage is not immediately apparent. takes that lap away from Matt McMurray.
Oh, there it is.
It's the
107.
Bentley, and it's Stephen Kane.
Stevie.
That looks like cops.
What are you doing there? I mean, that's... Hopefully we'll have that on camera. One of our excellent cameramen around the racetrack will have been following, hopefully, that Bentley, and not much different to where we saw the 74 Mercedes in the earlier session. Now, is there fluid on the track? Is it? No, it's not. I'm just the screen. The way I'm looking at it looked very grey. It's not. It's nothing to do with anything on the circuit. So it's not been a great session for Stephen. He wasn't happy, especially happy from this morning's session, and there are the team, Alex Buncombe, who was in the 108 car, and his car still is in the garage. You can see it behind the team personnel.
Yeah, the puncture. That's what they say on the radio.
So the radio report, he's had a puncture.
Normally the cars run sensors, so you know if the tyre was losing pressure, but if it's a very sudden deflation.
What's up?
So the car's being retrieved.
Yeah, so Stephen's out of the car, and just seeing he's going to wander around and have a look at that left rear. I think the marshals are showing, they're indicating that there's something on that left rear, and may well have been a very sudden deflation, which would have meant that once you're committed to entering cops, it's a quick corner. There isn't going to be too much that's going to help you. Hopefully the car has ended up in the gravel and hasn't rattled down the tyre wall, the rubber baling that.
Now Jordan Pepper is one of the other drivers of 107. He will have perhaps heard radio messages from Stephen. He might be able to shed light for us.
Jordan, as we can see, a very unfortunate event. What happened there?
To be honest, I just heard Stephen said that he had a left rear puncture alarm, and then I think he spun because of that. Nothing serious. He said he didn't hit any barriers and stuff, so we should get the car back in, change the tyre, and then continue, hopefully.
It's really not going well for you Bentley boys. We got 108 in the background being worked on. We got you guys in the gravel. Where's the light in this?
Yeah, I think the light has to be found. We were quickest in free practice one. We showed good pace there. It's still practice day. Come tomorrow, I think everything will run smoothly, and hopefully we can get a good result finally, if the luck's on our side.
Finally, good luck.
Yeah, 108 still in the pit lane. They've done precious few laps. They've done 5 laps in this. No, they've done more than 5 laps. They have done 6 laps because one was an in lap. That's all.
Still would like to know what the problem with the 108 is. So that would just sort of tick that little box. We've been looking at it off and on for the last half an hour.
Looking at Stephen Kane, he keeps stopping and turning around almost. I'm sure it's partly to see the recovery, but also as though each time he turns around there might be some more air in the tyre, you know.
Well, maybe it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, apparently, according to Jordan Pepper, there may have been an alarm that went off, which is what I assume that all these cars will carry some form of either audible, but most likely a visual warning that there's a very rapid decompression of the rear tyre.
Other cars are still coming back into the pit lane because it's a very, very long lap, and when it's a red flag you have to go so slowly. So all of this eating into the available time. We're down to just over half an hour still to go, and still the cars needing to be retrieved. And it was a rear tyre for 107 as we understand it, although the team is saying a left rear and another information source is saying a right rear. But anyway, it's a rear tyre. Stephen Kane walks back, walk of shame almost this, but Stephen, who's been a stalwart Bentley racer, double winner for the brand, driver change in 62. And the session, as I say, will get back underway as soon as, but we're looking at about 3 minutes time. So it is Lamborghini currently fastest. There is the rather undignified side to the Bentley. Can we see anything on that left rear?
It's difficult to see. Yeah, it's just this. I'd like to get a look at the back of the car altogether, because this is what teams are always happy to look at, the rear of another competitive car to see what they're doing with their packaging and their installation and the aero on the back of the car. So this car is being craned back. It'll be brought back into the pits. The team will get it back pretty quickly. So looking at the rear of Maxime Martin's Aston Martin, that was a car was being worked on, still is being worked on. So something going on with there was the mind of the calipers, I think. Anyway, the poor engineer's got to wear a helmet as well, so there's a limited amount of space available.
That's number 9 BMW that's going to get a new driver tomorrow. Philippe Eng will rock up. You know, just for the day, Silverstone, go racing as you do.
Ka-ching.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but if you're a central, what I would call a centrally contracted driver to any manufacturer, if there is the need, part of your commitment is that you get sent here, there, and everywhere. And quite often at short notice.
Yeah. So that AM sticker will be replaced with Pro-Am for tomorrow. There's Jake Dennis, winner here last year, ready to go out. Nicky Thiem giving him advice. And Marvin Kirchhofer is the 3rd driver in that car, 76. So what are we down to? It'll be about 27 minutes this session when we get going. And I suspect the officials will be careful on how they announce the fast lane being open, because that's what caught out the marshal at the end of the pit lane, who let the cars out under a red flag earlier on in the day. But fingers crossed, this time message will be understood. They'll get them to the end of the pit lane ready, and only then will the light go green.
Yes, and fast lane and pit lane. Some pits have got 3 lanes. You've got the work lane, you've got a middle lane, and then you've got the fast lane is actually part of the racetrack, whereas the other 2 lanes are technically the pit lane.
Now, Christian Engelhardt's car is currently the fastest. The session is back live. We can hear from Christian with Dakota.
Christian, P1 for the moment. All good so far?
Yeah, all good. Obviously, this is just a practice run. It's not going to be relevant as we're going to have qualifying tomorrow, but for the moment, the car feels good. Mirko did a really good lap. Happy with that. Not easy today. The track is really slippery. Not a lot of grip out there. Easy to make mistakes. We're a lot slower than last year, which is interesting. I think something to do with the asphalt. And makes it extremely tricky. I think it will be an exciting race.
Well, was the lap done in qualifying conditions?
Yeah, I think everybody is pushing, preparing for tomorrow, and it's going to be really close tomorrow. And it's about finding the right spot on the track and not making a mistake on the lap. Today, Mirko had a really good spot and a really good lap. So, yeah, let's see and try to do the same tomorrow 3 times in a row.
Woo! Not too much work then. Good luck for tomorrow. Thank you.
So Rolf Eichen is at the wheel of 63. Christian Engelhardt is away to watch. And we've got just under 27 minutes of this session to go. The pit lane is still emptying, but the team's getting themselves back up to pace. Rolf Eichen, who hasn't been racing for that long, is another... He's an AM plus, isn't he, really? He's getting quicker and quicker. He's not in the same league as Engelhardt and Bortolotti, but he's not slow.
No, he's not. He's an asset in that 2-driver lineup, the normal sprint driver lineup. And Christian Engelhardt was saying that, you know, it's not about a single lap. Bortolotti can do a lap that's quicker than anybody else, but it'll be the combined 3-driver lap times that will then determine the grid position. So what you need is that continuity across your 3 drivers.
So we've got, as I say, just 26 minutes of the session still to go. There is Rolf Eichen trying to get out of everybody's way, find the clear track space, then go for it. This is the Grasser run at Lamborghini as against the FFF Racing Team cars with the 5 number prefix we were talking about earlier on. Eichen building up now to get back on the throttle coming out of Luffield. He's got the Ombra Lamborghini behind him, which is car number 12 that Dennis Dupont was doing good things in earlier. And Stefano Gattuso has now taken over. So 63, Rolf Eichen out of Copse.
Being pursued,
yeah,
when he's not getting away from the Ombra Racing. In fact, the Ombra Racing is running down Rolf Eichen as they come through Beckett's. Let's have a look and see at the exit whether the gap has remained pretty much as it is. I think it has. So now you've got 3 other cars to make your way around. Not ideal, but then Eichen gets past one of them cleanly and easily. Next 2 will come as a challenge. Maybe he'll run up against the back of them under braking into Vale. No, he's still got sufficient opportunity So no problem into Vale. Good clean entry. Now switch back to the right. Let the car then just float out to the, well, he's using a lot less road than the following Lamborghini, and has actually stretched the gap between the two cars in that last bit of the second sector of the lap.
So there, the WRT squad at work, drop number 2 down. Alex Riberas, I think, behind the wheel of that. They're waiting for 17 as well. Alex McDowell looks like he's good to take over.
No green appearing anywhere. Oh, stalled it. There we go. He's got it going again. No green anywhere on page 1. And 1 green, Jimmy Pla, currently 46th in their Mercedes, on his first sector, has done a personal best. What does that tell you? It tells you nobody's going quickly at all.
No, indeed. So 63, Rolf Icon with just under 24 minutes of the session still to run. And comes now towards the timing line. Mauro Engel's done a stop. Dennis Olsen's taken over 99. Still cycling through drivers. But what it does kind of suggest is that qualifying tomorrow is going to be fascinating and very exciting indeed, because it's when everything will start to take shape. Karim Moehle has taken over his BMW from the Boots and Gignon team, and there Alex McDowell is good to go in a minute. So as the pre-qualifying session continues, away goes the Audi. And are we going to see anybody get really bold towards the end?
Well, Jimmy Plough's on a personal best in sector 2, albeit he's down in 46th position, but he might make some progress by the conclusion of his lap. So the Mercedes, number 87, we didn't see it come across start-finish line. Still not in sight. I think it might be just coming through.
That's Rebel France, Thomas Locola into the pits.
Where is it? That's the Aston Martin. So we're still waiting for 87 to make its way through on the completion of its final sector.
66, Clement Schmidt is on screen, and he is up towards the right-hand of Village. Jim Pla, we're keeping an eye to out of our window because he's quick in the first sector. And he's got a lot of time to find, actually, to get the ACA ASP Mercedes up towards the front of the field. Clement Schmidt seems to have been in this car all day. Every time I look, it's Clement Schmidt behind the wheel. Driving standards flag for car number 12, which means that it is Stefano Gattuso for ignoring track limits.
Well, we did see him running pretty wide, coming out of club corner. So fastest, so personal best in the second sector for the 87 Mercedes, 53.5, which compared to those around him is only beaten by Schulze in the 444 and the 27 as well. So it's the Lazarus Racing. So it's going to be an improvement. I mean, we're talking about the very tail of the field, but nevertheless, those people have got fans around the world that want to know the progress.
So 17 is due back in by the look of it. Also, we've just got number 2 Audi back in. Well, Silvio Perez compact again.
The first page in timing and scoring up to 35th place is just a sea of yellow. Jimmy Pla has improved from 46th up to 42nd. Just want to round that all off for us so we can move on.
Okay.
That's his job done there.
You would hope there's more to come there.
I thought there might have been a little bit more to come. I thought he might have got onto the first page. Chris Harris, surprisingly, I thought might have done a little bit better on that car. The 188, Garage 59, Alexander West, Chris Harris, Chris Goodwin. Currently, it's, I don't want to say it, but it's the slowest of the Aston Martins. Speak in hushed tones. Don't want to offend anybody, you know?
The least quick. Yes.
Something like that. I don't want to offend anybody.
No, indeed. Chris, who missed Monza, Chris Harris, but he's back. So he's a bit race rusty, you could argue. Right, new set of boots on 17. One mechanic to take them off, one mechanic to put them on.
But not sticker tires.
Slicks, no. And Alex McDowell staying in that car. We've got quite a few people whose pit stops are under investigation and team managers being summoned up before the race director. Mark Lemmer is one of them. Rinaldi is another team, so Barwell and Rinaldi might be in hot water. And also Bucktide up before the beak.
Gaggle of cars, a little bit of bunching. And the Mercedes backs right out of it and try and give himself space. And immediately going to be inundated with the Ferrari 333. Sadikov, Bulletov, David Perel did a good job with that car earlier on. 333, where is it now?
Where's the rain? Suddenly is falling.
Well,
it's wet at Woodcote. Suddenly the rain has descended, and that's going to render the rest of the session irrelevant because they'll tiptoe round. Some are braving it out on the slicks, others are bailing for the pit lane, but all of a sudden it started to rain.
That's the weather. That's what you get. Localized rain. Could be here at Cops, could be all the way down the other end of the circuit. And you arrive upon it at an unabated speed, and all of a sudden you realize that with racing slicks and the size of the rim and tire, but you can water ski at 20 miles an hour on a plank of wood. But look at that, that's coming in almost sideways.
But that's
it's a small, oh, it's great. But it's just, but there'll be bits of the track or not, but you can just see the sheen on the racetrack here at Woodcote. And drivers, one of the Rule Racing Porsches, braving it through, and that's what he is doing, he's braving it through.
Rinaldi, they're all togged up. That's a very impressive moustache that mechanic has got. There's the Monza winning car, the web-footed Porsche 54. Down through the Vale, it's fine, but it's round Woodcote and Luffield where it's wet at the moment, so it's really only on the start-finish straight. Look, the sun is shining. It's a completely different picture, I promise you, out of our window. Slippery surface flag is out. I think he's actually...
But you can see the rain, I mean, it's just sheeting down. So there we go, you know, just tippy too. Luckily, this is through Abbey, and you can still run a car when the tire is hot with rain falling, but when the rain gets to the point where you're getting the tracks of the car, well then that's time to think about, I mean, particularly in a session which does not count. All you will do by staying out is learn that this could happen on Sunday, and if it does happen, you need to know the point, which is the crossover, before you need to come in and put on a set of wet weather tyres.
So Klaus Bachler tiptoes down towards Brooklands, into the rain. Almost everybody now is going for the pit lane. It's just not worth the risk. If this were the race, you could roll the dice. There's a reason to stay out, but it's a pre-qualifying session. Just bail. Just park it.
You're right in what you say, but there is also something that teams would want to know, but you need maybe your number one driver behind the wheel to know that the track limits have suddenly gone from grippy to lack of grip.
Yeah.
It's finding out what would be the crossover time.
Giovanni Venturini has stayed out in the Lamborghini, but not many are staying out, that's for sure.
I mean, that team will benefit from doing so because they will find out that suddenly there's a drop in lap time, probably up to 20 seconds a lap, when you've gone from a track that was bone dry to a track that's suddenly been absolutely saturated, or parts of it are saturated. Other bits probably all the way down the far end of the circuit, maybe not the case. So it's all about suddenly just put your computer in behind the wheel, your driver, and tell them not to go off, but we want that information. It'll probably dry up in about 5 minutes.
Indeed. So
with 16 minutes remaining.
It's raining at Abbey, raining at Woodcote, wet tyres being put on. And John's right, they will go out and get some data, because it might be necessary for tomorrow.
I mean, this has got all the hallmarks of what we had at Monza, where you had a racetrack that wasn't what I'd call, for all that period of the race, saturated or wet. And you put on a set of wet weather tyres, they'll help you, but on the dry bits, you're just going to chew them to bits. They're going to last for about 3 or 4 laps, and they'll be absolutely shredded.
It's good for Pirelli sales, isn't it, this?
It is. It doesn't do them any harm, but again, it's information gathering. So if this was to happen on Sunday, do you say to your driver, no, don't come in, time lost by the reduction in lap time plus the pit stop against the time gained on a set of wet weather tyres? What's the equation? What is the upside of that equation?
So you can see many of the teams going on to wets, almost everybody back into the pit lane now. And it's still raining pretty heavily over near the wing, isn't it, over at Abbey? It's eased up where we are, but it's still pretty heavy over at, that's turn 11 in new money, Abbey, for those of you that like the heritage of Silverstone. And Giovanni Venturini is the brave one, staying out, and so also 63, Rolf Eijken has been told to stay out for the Grata team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame the teams for doing this. It's in the interest of the team. As long as you've got faith in the driver that he's not going to try and be a hero, we just want to know, give us a mean average lap time over maybe 2 or 3 laps. Look, you can see just how sudden the snap oversteer when the power kicks in. The back end, just this precious little grip between tyre and racetrack. Once you get the thing rolling and there's no slip angle in the car as you would have coming out of a corner, it's not so bad. Then the next challenge is braking here into Brooklands, and it's a long break. You're braking still on a curve. So Rolf Eijken seemingly doing a sensible job. I don't want to put the commentator's curse on. Yeah, and that's all you can do. Just keep going, and he's decided, well, I've done my duty for the team. Coming in.
So down the pit road he comes, 14 minutes on the clock, and number 17 has gone out. So Alex McDowell dispatched. And I think, who else has gone out? Lucas Stoltz and Michael Meadows are all being sent out. So also is Leo Machitsky from Barwell. So you've got some still coming in. There goes Machitsky. And others going out. 4 cars on track. So there, look, is Michael Meadows.
On a set of wets.
Yeah.
Or not, we don't know. We didn't see the Mercedes having a set of wets fitted. We don't know whether they're still on slicks. The way he's driving at the minute, I would say he's on slicks.
And that, Miguel Modena. Coming out of club corner. Right, this is Meadows, down towards Stowe.
That doesn't look to me like a car that's on a set of wet weather tyres. The pace he's running at is way below what I would assume you would be capable of doing on a set of wet weather Pirellis.
It goes back to what you said a few minutes ago, that it's probably not wet enough, is it? It's wet at a couple of corners.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, other than again, it's information gathering. You want to do it to get the comparison, virtually identical lap conditions. Put on a set of wets, go out and see if you can, how much quicker you're going to be than you would have been on slicks. That's what teams need to do. It's all about, not second guessing something, but actually going out and doing give us a 2 or 3 lap run to find out, give us some continuity. Again, the 77 would seem to me to be on slicks, just the way that the throttle's being opened. It's not being opened with authority. Michael Meadows really tippy-toeing around, whereas the Mercedes coming up behind might well be, well, that's the number 4, I think, may well be on wet weather tyres.
That's Lucas Stoltz at the wheel of number 4. 12 minutes to go, and while people are tiptoeing around, let's head to the pit lane. David Perel, we've been saying good things about today in 333. He's with Dakota.
David, now we just saw that it started to rain here in the pit lane. I think it's raining on the track, around the track as well. Is it worth going out on wets just to see what data you can gain?
I don't think so, just purely because on Thursday with the paid practice we managed to get quite a bit of wet running. So we understand the car a lot. We tried 2 different kinds of wet tyres in terms of age, a new one and a used one. So we have a lot of understanding. Looking around the track and on the TV coverage, it doesn't seem wet enough that we could learn more than what we did on Thursday. So for now we're pretty happy with our pace and everything, and bring on qualifying tomorrow.
Now we just saw the AM car of Rinaldi Racing go out on wets. Do you think they're going to get any kind of beneficial from this?
Yes, because the driver who's in the car now, he didn't get much time on Thursday. So for the gentleman drivers, it's always worth giving them as much track time as possible, because that's where they gain the time. Otherwise, for us, it was okay because we spent so much time going around and around on Thursday.
Good luck for the qualifying tomorrow.
Thank you.
Your team is crazy.
All in the sake of television.
Miguel Molina here is getting on with a job, isn't he? Terrorising the Porsche, which has got whom behind the wheel? Ben Goethe has been given the Porsche back again.
Yeah, I mean, been really tough conditions for the young German. And I think that David Perel was very articulate in the way that he rationalised what they might want to do, what they certainly did when it was wet on Thursday. And interestingly, he went as far as saying we did a comparison to a set of wet weather tyres that had been used to a brand new set. Normally you'd expect the brand new set to have a significant gain, but it's all information. We talked about it. There we are. David Perel has given us a really good insight into what the Rinaldi team has been doing.
Yes, he's been a good driver within the AM Cup, Pro-Am Cups, since his arrival in Europe. Raced in South Africa, had many years away to build up a business and get the money to go racing, but made a conscious effort to come to Europe to try and further his career. This up the curb, which is brave, is Miguel Molina, but he's now going to come back into the pit lane. He's had a look, he's found out where you can get sideways and where you can get really sideways, and now he's in the pit road.
Yeah, and the cars that are going past our commentary position, I would say full throttle. Is that our pit? No, it's not. No, it's not. On full throttle are obviously in wets, but others that are tippy-toeing around are on slicks.
Is the Fabio Barthez, but now Bernard Delhay Lexus, run by Simon Abadai's Tech 1 team, and we're not going to have any improvements, are we? It's a wet road, it's 9 minutes to go. This is just data gathering, really.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've got virtually 7-8 tenths of the field is in the pit lane.
Yeah.
And what we've got remaining just over it, well, 8 minutes and 50 odd seconds there is the Rinaldi Ferrari, or the 72, I should say, the Russian entered Ferrari. And it's done what it needed to do. The car is being lifted up now. Well, they're going to put on a set of wets or not bother. There's a driver change going on as well. So, I don't know, they wouldn't lift the car up normally to do a driver change. So whether they are going to change onto a different set of rubber and get, again, information for the team, let's wait and see. But if you look at page one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 35 cars on the racetrack out of the top 35. That rain's sort of, well, I mean, we were looking skyward and thinking that looks very dark and grey, but it came so unexpectedly, as often the case at Silverstone. And because you've got these little microclimates, also because Silverstone, believe it or not, is actually slightly higher than the countryside around it. It was an ex-World War II satellite bomber base, so it's built on a very, very gradual, I suppose you might call it a hill. So if there's anything in the air, it would tend to catch it. But it came unexpectedly and very suddenly.
108 back out, which is good news. It's still Alex Buncombe behind the wheel, but it's been a difficult day. And of course, now finally, good news, we've got the car out. Oh, it's a wet road.
Yeah, exactly. So this has been a disappointment for the 108. They've spent the bulk of this session has been spent in the garage with the car up on axle stands where they worked around the rear of it. So Alex Buncombe is out, and it'll be a tippy-toe opening lap for the Somerset man, or the Somerset driver, or the driver from Somerset, or however you want to coach it.
Bit of a lock-up there going up towards the loop. 7 minutes are on the clock. So fingers crossed, this car's going to bounce back tomorrow morning in qualifying.
Oh, no doubt. And they'll just go out, they'll do a run. He might even come in after one lap just to do a quick spanner check, or maybe go and do a 3 or 4 lap run, by which time it's going to be pretty much checkered flag time.
I do like the way they still have the number on the grille, just as Bentleys did in the 1930s. So there is that constant nod to the heritage.
I don't remember that myself. I mean, when they were racing on the Ard circuit just outside Belfast, one of the finest road race tracks the world has ever seen, I probably was too young to appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Alex Buncombe is back in, as you predicted. So he's done his systems check, in he comes. 6 minutes to go, but it's a rather empty track compared to a rather fuller pit lane at the moment.
I think most people have decided, let's call it a day with, what, 5 minutes now, just over 5 minutes remaining. There's not going to be a huge amount that if they haven't done the test at the point when the track was, at its wettest, which was 5 or 6 minutes ago. So now the track is improving. The line will be, every corner will be getting marginally drier. So its relevance is going to become maybe slightly less.
5.55, Diego Menchaca, upside down in the gravel at Brands after an off last week in qualifying for the Blancpain World Challenge Europe event there, 2 sprint races, but he's bouncing back, 13th. The car then had an engine problem and it smouldered into retirement in race 1, didn't do race 2, so it was a very difficult weekend at Brands for this car last week. Through it comes.
I keep emphasising the point, Brands is old school, and its margins, the limits are very, very close to the edge of the circuit. When you come to a Grade 1 FIA approved circuit like Silverstone, I mean, the two cars that went off at Copse, for example, had that been an old school circuit, they wouldn't be driving them back to the pits. They'd be coming back wrecked on the back of a wrecker. So, you know, as younger drivers come into the sport, they become accustomed to these, you know, very wide open and very, very safe circuits where the challenge is not about the narrow restrictions of Brands Hatch. And that's what makes a circuit like Brands such a thrill to drive on, because it's a lot more demanding in a different way.
That's 107 after it's off, and they're going to try and get the car back out and just do a systems check on that, aren't they?
Yes, they've got 4 minutes remaining, so just get it back out and make sure that there isn't anything awry, having had the car off that Copse. So if it was something as relatively straightforward as a rear tyre, you know, whether it was a cut down tyre or just picked up something on the track and deflated it. But get it out, make sure it runs, make sure there's no other hidden issues that we weren't able to assess when the car was in having that quick change around.
It was Stephen Kane who was behind the wheel when it had it off. And let's see who's going to be behind the wheel next. There is 555 back in. So we were talking about Diego Menchaca and the Mexican driver who raced here years ago in the BLDCF4 Championship, brought the car back into the pit lane.
Yeah, as Jules Gugnon has been given the
yes,
the pleasure of taking the car, the 107 Bentley, out for what is now, it'll be an out lap, and he might get one flying lap in. I think probably would get one flying lap in if he gets a bit of a hurry on his out lap. There is 107 making its way up and around. That doesn't look like it's wet weather tyres to me.
No, you're right.
So Jules Gugnon, a little bit of a baptism of you know, a changing circuit. And of course, he hasn't been on the circuit in these conditions. He might have been out on Thursday when it was wet. So staying well over to the right, let cars coming down behind him get a clear entry into Stowe Corner, not prevent a car that might be doing something more meaningful than the outlap that Gugnon is on.
So down through Vale goes Gugnon, son of Jean-Marc Gugnon, Formula 1 racer, sports car racer, and of course Jules, the ADAC GT champion, as well as Spa 24-hour winner a couple of years ago. And
a chip of the old block, if you ever say one.
Yes.
You know, all the quips and quick wit that his dad has is definitely in the genes of Jules.
So there he is, out of Abbey into Farm. And he's going to get, if he wants it, one more lap out of the session, because there is now less than a lap time left. So he'll get across the timing line, but it may be that he goes into the pit lane. We'll see what the team elects to do.
I would like to think that he would complete this lap, not complete it in the pit lane, and just allow him that one more lap, just to get the feel that when he goes to bed tonight, he knows that if the conditions are like this tomorrow morning in qualifying, he's not going to go out stone cold and unprepared.
So up he comes into Luffield. Bit of a twitch there as he finds where the grip is. He will go for one time. So he'll get one proper flying lap out of this, but the flag will be there to greet him at the end of the next lap.
So there he goes. This is 1 minute of the session remaining, so he will take the checkered flag at the end of this lap, or he may opt to actually come in rather than doing another lap. He'll have achieved all he needs to achieve on this lap, and he could just decide, I'm going to pull it in. And is there more rain on the lenses up there? I just thought I saw a spot or two on the camera lens on the entry into Beckett's. That may be residue of earlier rain, but again, driver will be able to judge what's happening. He'll be seeing it on his windscreen, and a lot of cars run Rain-X, which means that if you had a wiper failure, that the rain is a silicon kind of product that enables the rain to be dissipated rather than hanging in on the windscreen.
Yes, they can get the information they need on this lap from the sector times, can't they? And 107 Jules Gugnon is a little bit down in the first sector, but they'll get an idea of what sort of pace you can do in the slippery conditions. It's getting sunnier again on the pit straight, so the track is improving as Malcolm Wilson looks on.
I mean, the track is quicker this lap than the lap that Jules Gugnon was on when he went out. And that's, tracks change really quickly when they do start to dry, and it's almost not by the lap, it's by the corner. So unless you're one of these uber talented, or maybe I shouldn't have used that phrase, should I? Very talented, gifted drivers who can drive through lots of issues. Most drivers will work up to it rather than go on blind faith.
Yeah.
Great band, Blind Faith, weren't they? Back to the old music thing again.
You listen to them in your Uber. Right, there, flag out, 54, sitting out the last few minutes of the session, and we'll confirm the times, but they are already confirmed in as much as nothing's going to change. So 63 Lamborghini ends the session as the fastest. 108 Alex Buncombe still circulating, but that car is way down.
But is this its third lap? I think it is. So it's running, and there are no issues. Alex Buncombe came in after one lap just to do a very quick spanner check and then got back out again. So he'll be confident in the car. Oh, what's that?
That's the Honda that's had a big spin coming out of Luffield.
Wow.
And it's bounced its way onto the grass.
Yes.
Matt McMurray is at the wheel of it. That's just coming out of Luffield, just looped it, not hit anything as far as I can see.
No, I think it's just sitting on the grass, but he must have caught the curb on the exit.
Yeah.
And of course, curb is wet, and if you're maybe got a little bit of slip angle on the rear of the car, and you don't use the throttle carefully, then so.
Let's go on board and have a look, John. Talk us through this.
So we're on board, comes out, runs the curb. Oh, maybe he actually ran off the curb. Back end just goes round and comes to a stop, fortunately without any contact with any of the barriers on the inside of the exit of Luffield. So just again, just a little trigger to tell you, don't run the curb, and certainly don't drop the wheel off, because that looked to me like he got the wheel right to the outside edge of the curb. Might have just caught the little bit of earth on the outside.
Sure.
And Gottfried Grasser giving Christian Engelhardt a little bit of a talking to. Mirko Bortolotti stroking 4 days of growth and wondering, yeah, well, I've done my bit. I've done my bit, boys. What about you?
Well, quite often he starts, doesn't he? Rolf Eichen does the middle, and then Christian Engelhardt does that last stint. So Mirko Bortolotti, you can anticipate to be in at the start of the race. But, of course, we need to see where the car will start from, and that will be apparent after the three-part morning qualifying session tomorrow that we can look forward to next. So everyone getting themselves sorted and ready for that qualifying session that will be on air from 9:35 local time tomorrow, and it's 5:15, give or take, local time right now.
So the checkered flag has been displayed. The session is over, as you mentioned, David.
And this is the order at the end of the session, with the time being set for the top car, the Lamborghini by Mirko Bortolotti. It was Davide Rigon to be second, and from memory, Mauro Engel did the time for third, ahead of Raffaele Marciello. Nicky Thiem, fifth fastest, and Clement Schmidt, who's rather monopolised the number 66 Audi, sixth fastest. Franck Pereira, seventh. Tom Onslow Cole, eighth. Renat Zolikov, ninth. And Andrea Bertolini rounding out the top 10. Great mix of the brands up there. You've got Lamborghini, Ferrari, then Mercedes, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Audi, Lamborghini, Mercedes, Ferrari, Ferrari within the top 10. Lower down, the Honda that had its late session spin, ending up 18th. Number 17 Audi that didn't race at Monza because of damage is currently 20th at the end of the pre-qualifying. Bit disappointing, only 24th for Caldarelli, Lind, Mappelli, Lamborghini, but they will probably say, oh yeah, you just wait till qualifying, then you'll see what we're really capable of. And the same is true 27th of the Simon Gachet, Steve Pallet, Christopher Haase, Audi, Colm Ledegar, Johnny Adams, Aston Martin, also quite a long way down. Number 59, that car shared with Andrew Watson. More to come from that. What about the others of note? Well, Chris Buncombe 36 with his Ferrari, and within the AM category, fastest there, number 15 of Pierre Ferlagioni. So we look forward, as I say now, to qualifying. That gets underway tomorrow morning to determine the grid for the 3-hour race here. 9:35, we are on air from Silverstone. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.